honored if you would join us.
Greetings and welcome to another YouTube episode of Film Stories with me, Dan Cooper. In today's episode we have Jenny Eagan here with us. Jenny is the costume designer for the just newly released Knives Out, the excellent Rian Johnson whodunnit that's in cinemas right now. Definitely worth a watch, highly recommend it, and let's jump into the chat with Jenny about dressing the characters, designing those costumes, and what fun it was to work on the film. Here we go. It seemed to me throughout the film that you walked a really fine line. I watched it with a friend of mine, and we walked out and she was talking about Clue. The costumes walk a really fine line between paying like a homage to those characters, but without the costumes becoming too visually heightened.
Yeah, well, I think, and I think that was important for Ryan. I think he's mentioned this before too. It was, he was paying homage to the Agatha Christie's and, and certainly Clue, those whodunits. And, the wonderful thing about that movie, Clue especially, is that, immediately you know who those characters are. It's just so defined in their dress. And, I kind of try to think about it, like if the volume was off and I saw this, could I define that character? Could I say, oh, well, she's the matriarch of a family. Yeah. She obviously is wealthy. She's, she runs the show, because the attitude is in the clothes as well. But I think, that was really important to Ryan, to think about that and give everybody individuality. But because of the, their wealth and what carried that with them, it was fun to push it. But being very careful, for instance, with Chris and his Ransom, the character, and the scarf, for instance, it was,
yes.
I had camera tests, we had other scarves, and it was like, oh, do we want a scarf? Maybe not. I'm not sure it's going to work. And then on the day, I just brought some out again. I said, I think something could be interesting here. And it was that one. And Ryan just loved it because the colors popped, but yet it felt expensive and rich and ostentatious to a way where it wasn't completely distracting, but it just set it apart a little bit more. And I think even, and Chris, I can only say what I saw, but I think by him putting it on, it even pushed that attitude a little bit more. And it made you like, who is this guy? I mean, without
yes.
it was beautiful. It looked great. But with it, it just kind of gave a hint of something else. And I think that's what we did sort of with each person. You gave them just something that's off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been fine. It could have been, it rested easy on the eyes. But those things are what made it fun. And tying those colors together throughout with each character. And Joni, played by, Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Her, California, frilly, immediately everything's great. You just kind of see her flowing around and doing yoga all the time.
Yeah.
So that, it was those were kind of all expressed. Ryan had given us so much in the script. So it was a very easy process for each one of those characters because the script was it was just like our Bible. It was so important, and he had sort of set it all up. You knew who those people were. So when everybody got to me, it was quick and seamless, and we had so much fun. Because it pushed everybody, and they felt so right and comfortable in it because it was so easy to begin with. So that was important to give them each very specific, who they were, very separate from one another.
And moving away from Knives Out for a minute, can you tell us anything about what you're working on at the moment?
Well, it's a Netflix untitled project with Mr. George Clooney directing and starring.
Wow.
I think that's all I can say. I don't really know. I haven't asked around what I can say.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's fun.
We don't want to get you in trouble.
It's here in London, and this is my first time I've worked here for a long period of time. I'm just having a wonderful time. It's so much fun.
And on that note, which films might you recommend that our audience might not be have necessarily seen, maybe, but that you would consider to have really excellent costume design?
It's so funny because I can look back and see how I've grown, and I'm continuing to grow all the time and learn more and push myself in a different direction. But I think I'm so proud of everything I've done because it's informed something else or the next move. But I've been very fortunate to have a career that gets to cross lots of genres and have different styles. I mean, certainly when I did True Detective the first season with Carrie Fukunaga, Matthew McConaughey, and Woody Harrelson, that sort of set me to that was very close to home. I knew a lot of what that dress was. I understood that very well. So, but that really gave me an opportunity, and other people recognized that. So it gave me opportunity to do other things. But I think for me, it was something else I did with Carrie called Beasts of No Nation.
Great film.
It was in Africa. It was a very personal show for me because it was a challenge for myself. And I really I loved that film. I loved making that film. I loved being a part of it. So that, and I felt really good about creating something that wasn't clothes. I mean, they were, but it was more of an armor and different.
Yeah.
That, and I really loved doing Hostiles with Scott Cooper and Christian Bale, starring. That was, for the Western. I love a Western. I love aging is the most important thing to me. The getting the dirty. So when you see it up close and personal, you can see phrase on his shirt. It's almost like you could smell it through the screen. Through the scratch and sniff or something. So that one was really important for me too. But then, for instance, this one is really great because it pushes me. It's easier to escape in something that's period for me because it's studied. There are details about it at times that are, exact and precise, and you want to get that because you want to get it correct. Whereas character and contemporary types or characters like this it's very scary. It makes me very nervous because I can see it one way, but is it going to resonate with the audience? Is it going to give them the character that they want to see? Is it going to be a part of the script and everybody will understand it? So I'm super proud of this, but everything's so different. Like working with Steve McQueen on Widows, I mean, each one of those women were extraordinary. And they taught. I learned so much as a human being on that movie, and so each one informs it differently for me. But those kind of are really important. But then Maniac, I don't know. They're all so different. I have to say. But even first movie I did with Balthazar Kormacor with Mark Wahlberg was, it was my first design out of being an assistant for 13 years. I did it for 13 years, and then I stepped out on my own, and I was scared to death. You didn't know if you were going to make it. So it's soft, it's warm for me because I remember the experience too. And I've been so fortunate to have such a dream career to this point, and I hope it keeps going. And Catch-22 last year with George Clooney was
the TV show.
The war and that's just it. I mean, everything feels like so excited about it and proud of everything that I've done. So it's hard to say. I just want everybody to watch everything and all the time. And sometimes doesn't seem like the right movie, but you learn something in it. I learned so much from all kinds of movies, not just about my job, but just life in general.
Yeah, which then informs your ongoing work elsewhere. I imagine.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jenny. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. It was lovely
to have you. And Knives Out is a wonderful film, and your work in it is great too. So I urge everyone to go and see it. It's absolute hoot.
Goes to see it. It's going to be fun for your holiday time.
Yeah, I certainly agree.
Give a little laugh. At the bleak times.
yeah. Thank you, Jenny. If you want to hear more from Jenny about working on Knives Out, we have another episode here on the channel that you can check out. If you want more film stories beyond that, then do be sure to check out our print magazines, Film Stories Print Magazine and Film Stories Junior. You can find details of how to get a hold of them on our website, filmstories.co.uk, where you'll find long-form writing and news stories every day. Furthermore, you've got our podcasts. You can find those at a podcast downloader of your choice. If you want to follow us through social media, you can follow us on Twitter at Film Stories Pod or on Facebook at Film Stories Online. And I will see you back here later this week with another film story. Bye bye.